The super epic sci-fi card game Parallel TCG has 5 factions, and they aren't just different colors. They're 5 completely different ways to think about a card game. One of them wants you to build up an unstoppable monster, while another one just wants you dead by turn 5. And with today's video sponsored by Parallel themselves, you'll know exactly which faction is right for you by the end of this video. And you'll be able to claim a free creator deck to play it today. Now, if you don't know how Parallel actually works yet, not to worry, I made a full how to play video, which will be linked in the description and right up here. But if you just want to figure out which faction is right for you, here's a quick recap that hopefully makes sense. Parallel is a free-to-play sci-fi card game where you build a 40-card deck around a leader called a Paragon. Then you grind your opponent from 30 life all the way down to 0 in order to win. However, one thing that makes this game really unique is instead of mana or energy cards, any card in your hand can be banked for energy. You forfeit playing it from your hand, and it becomes permanent fuel instead. Keep that in the back of your mind because every faction abuses that system differently. So let's find out which faction is right for you. Starting off with Augencore, you can call these guys the builders, because Augencore is for the player who wants to build one absolute monster and swing with it. These are your mech pilots. Their whole thing is stacking upgrades onto a single unit until it's a problem nobody has an answer for. The playstyle around this faction is focused on upgrades where you buff a threat, as well as a ton of really cool mech units. Some would even call them war machines. Now for this faction, you're often banking early to power out your key units and its upgrades in the same window. Now this is for you if you loved equipment aura decks back in Magic, or tool stacking in Pokemon, the whole build a giant unit fantasy. Next up is Earthen, and they're considered the wall, because Earthen is a faction that just says no. Defenders, board control, outlasting your opponents. If your opponent's playing Earthen, well, they're planning to still be standing when you've run out of gas. Now this playstyle is defensive. Defender units, board control, like I said, these games take a long time. Now the banking angle for this faction is unique because Earthen loves banking reactively. Hold cards as answers, bank what you don't need this turn. And this faction is for you if you're more of a control or turtle player who wins by outlasting, not just outracing. But here's the cool part, is you don't have to only play defensively with this faction. Some Paragons have a very offensive nature. More on that later. Next up is Cathari, known as the Swarm, and honestly, one of my personal favorites. Cathari is controlled chaos, clones, copies, and overwhelming numbers. Think tokens, really. You take one good thing and you make 5 out of them. It's a value engine that just keeps snowballing until the board's completely lopsided. And the cool thing is, there's no limit to how many units or tokens you can have on your board. Now the playstyle is, like I said, cloning, copying, and just going absolutely wide with symbiotic units and control leaning value. Now the banking angle for this faction is also unique because Cathari wants board presence fast, so banking to hit your engine cards on curve matters a lot in this archetype. And this is probably for you if you like token and go wide decks and value engines that just snowball infinitely as long as you can get going. Next up is Markolian, and these are known as the aggressors because Markolian is for the player with 0 patience, fast, aggro, Mars-born lightning attacks, and fire support, all pointed at your opponent's face. The game plan is simple. End it before they get to do their cool stuff. Another faction that I really do like because their playstyle is aggro burn, that just chips away damage to your opponent before they can really do anything. These games are often a race to just draining your opponent's life to 0, and these are races that you're probably gonna win with fast damage. Now the banking angle for this faction is also unique and different because aggro banks less. You'd rather play your threats early, so banking becomes a real discipline. You'd rather keep your 1 costs and use them strategically than just throwing them right into the bank and scaling your energy up to a curve you really don't need. Now, this faction's for you if you want short games. I think when I was testing out Kathy Byrne, I got through about 10 games in an hour, which is a great way to really understand the meta. And it feels more like a race rather than a grind. Which brings us to our final faction, the Shroud, or better known as the Disruptors. The Shroud plays dirty, in a good way though. It banishes your units, removes them from the game entirely, and controls the battlefield until it drops a huge late game threat you can't deal with. It's a faction that takes your toys away and then just wins. Now, the playstyle for this one, I gotta be honest, is something that I still need to better understand, but it looks like they revolve around banishing, removal, battlefield manipulation, and just powerful late game units that control the entire game. Now, for banking, this is probably the faction that I feel like needs the most energy, so Shroud typically likes to bank as often as needed, so that way they can have flexible answers over the course of the entire game. And this faction's for you if you're a control removal player who likes denial and a big finisher. Here's the best part. Every one of these factions has a claimable free creator deck. Make a new account through my link in the description or pinned comment, and you can claim one of these decks and start playing the faction you just picked today. Costs absolutely nothing, takes 2 minutes, and if you go Cathari, well, you already know you've got my blessings. So that's all 5. If you want a quick cheat sheet, here it is. If you want to build one huge threat, go Augencore. If you want to outlast everybody, go Earthen. If you want Swarm and Snowball, it's Cathari. However, if you want fast games, then go Markolian. And finally, if you want to control the game and drop a massive bomb, go Shroud. Whichever one sounds like your playstyle, well, that's your deck. Links in the description, it's free, claim it, and let me know in the comments which faction you landed on. And if you haven't watched the how to play video yet, it's right there. Thanks again, Parallel, for sponsoring today's video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.